And like I said, we're going to go through that and go through your love language as well. This talk is based on this book, The Love Languages of Children. The love languages are really universal across the board. The Love Languages book was initially written about couples, and then there's been several offshoots of that book, and there are many, many versions of it, but they all really say the same 5 principles and same things. So love and children, we're using the word love because the book does in love languages, but really in the classroom setting, we're talking about connection, right? We're talking about how we relate to the children in the classroom, how we connect with them, how we're able to get on the same page with them. And those are all ways that we can talk about love in the traditional sense, but we're really doing it in a more collectivist way because you have a classroom that has several kids and you have to be able to engage with them one-on-one, but you also have to engage with them as a group too. And that's why I think that the love languages can be useful because you can use it in both ways. You can talk about it individually and you can talk about it in the classroom sense. So there's a study done with kids that talked about how they saw love from their parents. And these were some of the answers that they had pulled out and that they had said. My mom says she loves me. She tells me all the time. But my dad chases me around when he gets home and gives me hugs. I think he's really funny and I love him lots. Second one, I go to movies with my mom. She didn't bring my brother. She told me that she loved doing things with just me sometimes. Dad brings me home things that he finds at work and tells me that he was thinking of me. Sometimes he brings me pictures that he draws for me. I know he misses me when he is gone and he loves me so much. All of these are really representations of different love languages. And they show that the child is paying attention to what their parents are doing as well, even though they might not be able to vocalize what kind of love they're expressing to them. The first one is a really good example of multiple love languages being presented by different people. Why love languages? Love languages are just a really easy, universal way to talk about connection. When you go through the 5 love languages, you're going to recognize that you, in some form, like all of them. We like receiving gifts. We like to have people touch us for the most part. We have different things that kind of come up for us that we're like, yeah, this is part of our lives, and we enjoy. Yeah, I know, there's always somebody that's like, I don't like being touched. No, somewhere along the way you did. And so being able to recognize that all of the love languages are important to everybody is part of it, and that's why we want to incorporate all 5 into the classroom. Because not only are we going to hit different things for different kids, but you're also just going to provide a more collective way of working within the class, right? You're showing kids love in many different ways that they will then be able to take it on and receive it. Whether or not that's their love language or yours, it still is an expression of love. How do I learn the love languages of my students? So younger kids tend to have a little more difficult time naming or showing that, right? But that's true of most things with young children. You can even kind of manipulate that. Like if you read a book to a young child about baking cookies with mom, and then you said, oh, how does your mom show that she loves you? What would most of those kids say? Baking cookies with, my mom bakes cookies with me, right? So you're manipulating their response by saying that's a valued way of showing love. So young kids traditionally just don't have the nature to be able to have that duality of saying like, well, no, my mom doesn't do that with me, or that's, I like that, but I like this better. So around age 5, the kids tend to be able to say, I really enjoy this I don't quite like as much, or it's not as much fun to me. How does that child express their value for things? Do they run in and give you presents? Do they run in and try to hug you? Do they tell you stories of activities they've done? What is the overarching theme for that child and what they do? What do they request of you? Some kids really want you to give them hugs or to touch them. Some kids really don't care. They don't care about that. They want you to give them extra recess, or they want you to pay attention to them in a more quality way. So being able to recognize what they want can help you recognize what their love language is too. The other part comes on the opposite side. What do the kids complain about? What do they feel like you're not doing enough of? We don't read enough. I like it when we sit at circle time. I want to have, most kids want to have more recess, but the idea of having that time together with friends can be really valuable for some kids, and some kids, they like it, but they really like having that one-on-one with you. And what does a child pick when given an option? In classrooms, we don't often give kids a lot of options, but when you do, what do they pick? What do they tend to gravitate towards as an individual, not so much just as a class too? So what is your love language? We're gonna go through this test fairly quickly. We're only gonna do the first 20 questions, okay? It'll give you a good idea of what your love language is. So you are gonna need a piece of paper. Sorry. Okay. So again, we all like most of these things. So the answer is going to be the one that you just gravitate towards. And just kind of pick it and move on, because the reality is in some of them you're going to like both of them. Right? I mean, in all of them you should like both of them, but some of them you're going to be like, oh, I really like both of those. And it'll be harder to pick.
You pick one.
And it's hard for me to tell when people are getting close to that, so. Let me know. We'll go back to 7. Sorry. Especially the page, for some reason, it jumps. Anybody need before 6?
No.
Okay, I can read them out loud.
No, we're good. No, we're good.
I don't mind.
It just takes us a little while.
Okay. You look like you're really struggling here.
Well, part of it's just a reflection.
Yeah, it's more just a reflection.
Turn the light off for now. How about that?
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Don't fall asleep. Here, how's that? Perfect. Everybody,
Yeah, we're good.
I thought it was 20. Oh.
it is. It's actually 30, but we're only doing 20. Okay, ready?
Okay, there we go.
Taking a death.
Especially for me. We were Chick-fil-A.
Can I go to the next page?
Yes.
No?
No.
Sorry, Dr. Okay. Charge.
Can you go back, I'm sorry, you said for a second.
No, I can do that, sure.
For you?
There you go. All right, should I go down? Okay, we're only doing to 20. Okay. Let's get really frisky, you can do 21. All right, if you're done, start adding up your A, B, C, D's. Go back through and add up all of your A, B, C, D's.
Across the street.
That was fun.